Hello, everyone, and welcome to ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I'm Mauricio Rodriguez, and I'm very happy to be with you tonight because we are only 1 week away, 1 week from now. Like literally at this time, 1 week from now, the Dallas Cowboys will be playing football, and they will be doing so versus the current Super Bowl champions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I couldn't be more excited about the Cowboys regular season finally getting underway. We will get into just about everything tonight. We will do kind of a preview of the 2021 Dallas Cowboys. And I will share with you my top 3 concerns. We will talk about who is the biggest threat in the NFC East, whether we should be worried at all about whoever is at the bottom of the division, and whether or not the Cowboys are legit Super Bowl contenders, or if they should be considered pretenders as we head into the 2021 NFL season. So what is up, everyone? I hope you're having a great Thursday. As I said, we are just 1 week away from the NFL regular season, and that is always exciting. College football is on TV. Yesterday we had college football. Today we have, tomorrow as well, Saturday, a full slate of games. College game day is back with Lee Corso. It's fall at the end of the day. It's fall, and I'm excited about that. What is up, kid? Thank you for joining ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. Please, let's stay healthy-ish this year. We're not even asking for healthy. We're asking for healthy-ish, and we can do just fine with that. We're beating the defending champs on their home field. Go Cowboys, says Lunatic. What is up, East Ty Harold? Thank you for joining the show. Stevie Mac, what is up, room? Hit that like button and share the stream. Please, if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, retweet it. Let your friends know that you're watching ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. What is up, CJ? Thank you for being here on the show. Lisa, your Houston team will be great. Says the Lunatic, they get a lock on the first overall pick. Oh, so Eastside is actually a Houston. Oh, I see the picture now. The Houston Texans might be in that conversation for the number 1 overall pick. And with everything that is going on with Deshaun Watson, you never know what is going to happen. DJ Dog also over here in the chat looking at cornerback, offensive tackle, and safeties in the college games. Like we're already in draft season. Draft season never rests. What is up, Jake, over at Facebook? Thank you for joining us on Facebook as well. And of course, Ivan over here, thank you for being here on ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I appreciate it. So before we begin the show officially, make sure you like the video, make sure you share it as well with all your friends, and let your friends know about ADC Sports, because we are so excited to get the season going with you with daily content on the platforms of ADC Sports, and of course over at adcsports.com/Dallas, where you can check out your latest Cowboys articles, your latest Cowboys news, Mavericks news. And we have a valid question. Before we get into that question from CJ, we will start the show off officially. So welcome to ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I'm Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network, with a lot more content coming your way for the Cowboys 2021 season, which is finally here. Make sure you head over to adcsports.com/Dallas. So CJ is opening up the show with a strong question, and it's a very important one. He says, Mo, what's your concern level on La'el Collins? It is not low. I will say it is not high either, but the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy said that he has a strong chance of playing on Sunday. But we're talking about strong chances. So that in itself is kind of, a little bit concerning. Here's the thing about La'el Collins. And Brian Broaddus tweeted this out not that long ago. He said he's barely been able to get through practice without being hurt or injured, even if it's not a major injury. And I don't believe La'el Collins' stinger, with which he's dealing right now, I don't believe it to be anything major. However, it is concerning. It has to be somewhat concerning that he's had a couple of issues jump out as soon as he's been back at practice at a 100% level. So I will say, on a scale from 1 to 10, I will say it is a 6. because we know what has happened with Lyle Collins. We know what kind of injuries he has had to deal with. So I will say a 6, and I will not go any higher than that because I do think that he starts for the Cowboys in week 1. My concern is more about, Lyle Collins' long-term health and whether or not he will stay healthy for 17 games. Even more so, when over at the left side of the offensive line, you have a Tyron Smith that has also been dealing with some chronic injuries, and we also hope they're not a big factor for the Dallas Cowboys. And actually, spoiler alert, we will talk about that more when we get into the top 3 concerns for the Dallas Cowboys in 2021. David Quesada says, can't wait till next Thursday. I hope we make a huge statement. It scares me about Collins. I hope he can get right and be ready for the season. Injuries are his nightmare, man. And yeah, after 2020, you're even more concerned, right? Because we witnessed firsthand what it was like to not have those tackles. And it was obviously compounded because the Cowboys also did not have Dak Prescott. What up, Sergio? Thank you for joining the show. Do you believe Cowboys defense ready for Brady? If you want me to be honest with you, no, I don't. I don't think that the Cowboys defense will have a good game versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do I believe the Cowboys can keep it close? Yeah, because of the offense. But on defense, I expect the Cowboys to have a learning experience, to put it softly, right? We're talking about a team that really hit its stride late in the season last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They have one of the best receiving corps in the entire NFL. They are returning, as you already know, 11 starters on offense, plus their offensive coordinator, plus their entire coaching staff, basically. Leftwich is also back. Bruce Arians is also back. So that's the point. As David is saying, no one is ready for Brady. I expect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to have one of the best offenses in the entire NFL because they did not start fast last season, but they did finish fast. And I believe with the continuity that they have over in Tampa, I believe that's going to be the case in 2021 as well. I think they will start in a way better position than they did in 2020. So I don't expect the Cowboys defense to be really ready for Brady, but I expect the Cowboys offense to be up to the challenge and to keep it close. I'm not calling the Cowboys to win the game, and we will do picks next week, the final predictions, but right now I'm leaning towards a Tampa win. Now, it will not be the end of the season if that ends up happening, and we'll actually get into that briefly in a few moments. I'm sorry, but before we do that, some more comments. We need to run the damn ball, says Chris Souza. I'm not entirely sure I agree with that. I want the Cowboys to pass the ball, and I know the argument is that, control the time of possession and everything like that, but I like the Cowboys' chances better if they unleash Dak Prescott and the receiving corps. Man, if he doesn't play, says CJ, regarding Lyle Collins, I'm not comfortable putting Nseke in at right tackle. I really hope he plays, but if not, they should slide Zach Martin over and play McGovern at guard. An interesting take. No one is ready for Brady. I believe Dallas' run defense is going to struggle against Tampa Bay, even more so without Neville Gallimore, right? And speaking of Neville Gallimore, let's get into some of the Cowboys roster moves that we have seen this week, and we will get into, because I've seen some people in social media wonder about where the Cowboys are at in their roster, because they placed six players on injured reserve, but only activated 3 from the COVID-19. So it looks like the Cowboys have some free space on their roster, but they really don't, and we'll get into that as well. But here are the roster moves from this week. They actually happened today. The Cowboys activated 3 players from the reserve/COVID-19 list. Those are CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, defensive tackle Carlos Watkins, and Damontae Cassie at safety. Mukwamu and Hooker had already joined the team before the Jacksonville Jaguars game, and that leaves Connor Williams and Noah Brown over at the COVID reserve. Now, they placed 6 players, though, on injured reserve. Some of these we already expected them to be placed there, but one name in particular we were wondering about. So Neville Gallimore, we already knew he was headed to IR. The same probably for Francis Bernard, Sean McKeon, and Josh Ball. But Malik Turner and Kelvin Joseph, we were not very sure about. But they are headed to IR, which means the Cowboys' second-round draft pick will not be able to play Week 1 versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, it did not look like he was going to start either way, because if you remember throughout the offseason, we talked about Kelvin Joseph potentially beating Anthony Brown or any other cornerback for your outside starting role. But during the preseason and training camp, I think that perception began to change little by little, because Kelvin Joseph was clearly not that, not that great or not that ready. Now, Payo over here is saying, come on, Takayo, I have some faith in the team, the Cowboys. And I you know what is funny to me? When people comment some words in Spanish, I read them like I'm still thinking and talking in English, and I find that funny. Come on, Takayo, have some faith in the team. The Cowboys have enough talent to beat Brady and company. Now, as I'm saying, I think they can, and I think they will be able to keep it close. I'm leaning toward Tampa because I have faith in the team. But you don't listen to ADC Sports Dallas Primetime to listen to a fan. You listen to me for an objective opinion, and that is my objective pick right now. I'm leaning toward Tampa, but I don't think it's going to be a rout by Tampa Bay. And I've said this in previous episodes of ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I've talked about the spread, and I think that 7.5 points might be too much. I'm probably taking the points when the time comes for the Dallas Cowboys. We have to run the ball to win. Yep, our defense gets at least relevant, in my opinion, says David. Just got here. Did Dan Quinn come back yet? Asks Dallas Junk. And yeah, he also joined the team. He's already back in the building. And that is good for the Cowboys defense, of course. Other good news. James Adams, I think if Dallas keeps the game close, that's a positive. Definitely. And listen, it's the first game of the season, and you're going up against the Super Bowl champions. And not only are you going up against the Super Bowl champions, you're going up against the same 22 starters that actually won the damn Super Bowl. So, I mean, if they lose Week 1, it's not the end of the world at all. And actually, the Dallas Cowboys have a relatively easy schedule ahead of them. And we'll talk about that as well. But back to the roster moves. So, since they activated 3 players and put 6 on injured reserve, it looks like the Cowboys have 3 open spots. However, those 3 spots are already kind of assigned. One of them will go to Corey Clement, who the Cowboys signed as their 3rd running back. By the way, I like that move. We talked about the Cowboys maybe carrying only 2 running backs or maybe adding an outside free agent. And I think that Corey Clement brings some good things to the table, and he knows the division. So I like that signing from the Dallas Cowboys. And the Cowboys have released Brian Anger and Jake McQuaid only to make room on the roster. So punter Brian Anger and long snapper McQuaid are going to be both back on the roster. So it's not really like the Cowboys have a lot of open spots. And once Connor Williams is brought back from the COVID reserve, and the same for Noah Brown, the Cowboys will have to make the corresponding moves. What will those moves be? We still don't know. And we are wondering maybe if it means some players that surprisingly made the roster will be cut or not. So we're still wondering, for example, about Kamara, and we're wondering about a few other players, maybe even Luke Gifford, for example. I mean, you never know. But it looks like Gifford is making the 53 once Week 1 starts. So it looks like he's going to stay. Oza, Micah Parsons will make a difference. They definitely win. Forget faith. The players got to step up and get dirty, get mad. And Kevin Beck also saying here in the chat, Cowboys can win this game with the right mindset. Can't go into a game thinking it's a write-off game. That is a losing mentality. Oh, of course, the players need to go out there and win. Definitely. I mean, players need to go with that right mindset. What is up, Marvel? Maurice, Marvel already here in the chat. Probably going to try and convince me to grow a beard, which I will not, Marvel. I will definitely not. So before we get into the first question of the show, let me open up a parenthesis real quick And you know that we cover Isaac Alarcon very closely here on ADC Sports Dallas Primetime for obvious reasons. Well, if you were wondering, I know you were wondering, Isaac Alarcon shared on his Instagram that he's already been taken care of. The Hard Knocks crew got him cake. So he wanted to try the cake, and Isaac Alarcon already has the cake from the Hard Knocks crew. I thought that was awesome, and I wanted to share it with you before we got into the rest of the show. I was going to mention it at the beginning, and I forgot. David says, grow the beard, man. I just can't. I literally can't grow a decent beard. We will try to, if that ever changes, which I doubt it will. So before we get into before we get into the actual season preview, let me ask you, and I know we are thinking about that right now as we talked about that Tampa Bay game and things like that. What do you think is more likely from your perspective, from your point of view? Will the Cowboys exceed your expectations? Will they meet your expectations? Or will they fall short of your expectations? You can only answer one of those three. Isaac has been a star of Hard Knocks, says Dallas Young. He really has, man. And I have really appreciated how Cowboys fans have started paying more attention to him during the 2021 preseason / training camp. So will the Cowboys exceed your expectations, meet your expectations, or fall short of your expectations? What do you think will happen when the Dallas Cowboys season is all said and done? Meet, says Stephen White. I think they will meet my expectations, says James. I expect them to win the division. And yeah, I also expect them to meet those expectations as well. Meet equals win the division. Maurice, the Tampa Bay wide receivers have a big advantage over the Cowboys corners, says Marvel and Group. Meet Stevie Mack. I see a lot of people saying that they will meet my expectations. That is the most common answer so far. But I'm hopeful that they exceed my expectations, says CJ. So here's the thing. It's difficult to know what the expectations are for the Dallas Cowboys. We are all hoping they exceed them. Here's where I place the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go with the conservative expectations for the Dallas Cowboys in 2021. And someone said that those expectations were winning the division. That was Osmosis over in the chat. And James Adams as well. Winning the division, in my opinion, is a conservative side of the Cowboys' expectations. Now, that might be optimistic from me, but I take a look at the NFC East, and I truly believe that if the Cowboys, unless a major injury happens once again, and unless Dak Prescott goes down injured again or anything like that, if Dallas Cowboys do not finish 2021 as your NFC East champions, it's totally on them. Like it really looks like an easy division to win if you have the kind of talent that the Dallas Cowboys have on offense. Because we might say, and we'll get into this in a few minutes as well when we talk about who is the biggest threat to the Dallas Cowboys in the division, but people usually single out the Washington football team because of the defense. Here's my thing about the difference between being excited about the Cowboys offense and being excited about Washington's defense. Washington has Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, and people are expecting them to give a big jump, to take a big jump on offense and really solidify themselves as contenders within the division. But it's more easy for the Cowboys, in my opinion, and that's what numbers have also told us throughout NFL history, or at least recent history. It's more easy for the offense in the NFL to keep the same level of play from one year to another than it is for a defense. It is more easy for a defense, or it is more common. Common is the right word. It is more common for a defense in the NFL to take a step back year to year than it is for an offense. So I do think that plays in favor of the Dallas Cowboys, who will be working on an elite offense instead of on an elite defense. What is up, Zach? Zach co-owner of ADC Sports, of course, that will take them to at least the second round of the playoffs, says Zach Bingham over in Cowboys Twitter, in ADC Sports Dallas Twitter. I do believe, and I was going to get into that the expectations for the Dallas Cowboys should be the divisional round. Because if the Cowboys are so expected to win the NFC East, then you're talking about hosting a game in the wild card round. And if you're playing a wild card team at home, like if you're playing at your home, you should be thinking about a divisional round. So it really depends on what your expectations are for the Dallas Cowboys, but that is where my mindset is regarding the Dallas Cowboys. Now, on Sunday, spoiler alert, and the show is far from over, but I'm getting ahead of myself a bit here. On Sunday, I will share with you my power rankings, because I put together my power rankings throughout the week, and I do think that I'm higher on the Cowboys than a lot of the national media, for example. Biggest fear, pre-snap penalties and a lack of momentum due to a lack of chemistry and execution. That is Kevin's biggest fear. We took steps to improve our obvious weakness in defense, and our franchise quarterback is back. We will win the NFC East. And really, the defense does not have, for example, you guys were asking me about the Cowboys defense being ready for Tampa. I don't think they are, but I don't think they need to be. I think that if the Cowboys defense is average, you're talking about a Cowboys team that can make a deep run in the playoffs. And that includes taking down any team in the NFC. And, you know, once you get into the into the NFC Championship game, like the rest is, I'm not going to say luck, but the next is very hard to predict, right? If the Cowboys get to that NFC Championship game, they can really beat whoever is there, in my opinion. I'm going to claim Maurice as a dependent on my tax return so I get more money back next year, says Marvel. I agree, though. W should run the table in our division. I agree, though. Should run the table in our division bearing injuries. Being saying that all of season, if our defense is average, we can do some damage, says David Quesada. The biggest threat to the Cowboys, says CJ, is injuries. As long as everyone stays healthy and upright, I think they can make it to the NFC Championship. And VTC says Dak and Zeke rookie year was prime example. Nobody could stop us back then unless Garrett called a bad play to kill our drive. Luckily for the Cowboys, Jason Garrett is calling some plays for the other team in the NFC East, and we'll get into that as well. So my top three concerns. Here are my top three concerns for the Dallas Cowboys in 2021. My top three concerns are, number one, stopping the turnovers and putting an end to the turnovers. Because even with Dak Prescott at the beginning of 2020, we were seeing that. And I'm not saying that we were losing games, that the Cowboys were losing games because of the offense, but really the turnovers were hurting the offense a lot. And if you take a look at for example, Ezekiel Elliott's DVOA compared to Tony Pollard's DVOA, you will see that they are very close, but that is mainly because of 6 fumbles, for example. It is not because Pollard was a clearly more efficient rusher than Zeke. He really was not. If you take away the fumbles from Zeke, and I realize that taking away the fumbles is a big thing to do, but without counting the fumbles, Ezekiel Elliott would have finished way higher in terms of efficiency, right? So that needs to change for the Dallas Cowboys, those fumbles and those turnovers, because you have a defense that at best will be average. You cannot go giving away the football. Good news for the Dallas Cowboys, it is the fact that you had a lot of turnovers in the first weeks of the season does not necessarily mean that you will continue to do so. In fact, throughout NFL recent history as well, some of the numbers that we have seen from the analytics community is that turnovers are hard to keep up throughout the season, both turnovers and takeaways, because they are kind of random. So that is good news for the Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion. Cowboys defense turnover percentage is atrocious, says Sergio. Zeke, hold on to the damn ball, please, says John. And that is the thing about Ezekiel Elliott. The good news as well for the Dallas Cowboys is that Zeke was fumbling at a pace in which that he had never done before. He had never fumbled the ball at the same pace that he was fumbling in 2020. So that is good news for the Dallas Cowboys. And I believe that players like Zeke, when they have those bad years, they really change something in their mindset. And I believe that Zeke will have a very good year in 2021. Not only because of how he is in terms of his shape, but also because of what surrounds him. He will have an offense with a better offensive line. He will be playing in favorable situations if all goes good for the Dallas Cowboys, if all goes well for the Dallas Cowboys, and they're up in games, and the Cowboys can run the game just to kill the clock. Well, then Ezekiel Elliott might have a very strong year. He's actually going like third overall in a lot of fantasy leagues, and I took him at fifth overall today in a fantasy league. I know that fantasy football is different from real football, but in terms of production, I think that Ezekiel Elliott is going to have a much better year. My number two concern is Dan Quinn doing more with less, because Dan Quinn has a very mixed history of defensive results throughout his coaching career. And we saw what he did with Seattle, but we know that he does not have that talent here in Dallas. He was not really able to do more with less in Atlanta, but he was a head coach, so it's difficult to compare what he would be able to do if he was just a defensive coordinator. But is Dan Quinn going to be able to do more with less, especially starting the season without Neville Gallimore, without even Kelvin Joseph? And I know that Kelvin Joseph might not be a projected starter, but it's still a tough blow for your defensive backfield. And as we were saying, Dan Quinn needs to command an average defense for the Dallas Cowboys to be at that level. Now, people were talking about Michael Parsons. We were talking about players like Keanu Neal and some of the additions, Oza, that the Cowboys made in 2021. That will not be enough. The roster improvements will not be enough. In my opinion, Dan Quinn also needs to step up. Easier said than done, though, with our offense, says David. Of course, Dallas O-line, because our ball carriers do too much, hence fumble, says VTC. Those first two games are going to be tough for us, says the Gooch. And yeah, the Cowboys' first two games will not be easy because the Chargers are also a complicated team. What's your opinion on Diggs going to number 7? So I have mixed opinions on this. Like, if the NFL wouldn't have allowed the jersey number changes, I would have preferred it. I would have preferred to just stick to the old jersey number rules. But I really do not mind watching players with the single-digit numbers. I really like how they look. So I do think that Trevon Diggs rocking that number 7 will look great on the football field. And I love how Micah Parsons looks with the number 11. And I know a lot of people have complained about it and have said, oh, that's more for college football. I really like it, though. I really like how they look with those numbers. I would have preferred it if the NFL didn't change the rule, though. Breaking news, Kelvin Joseph injured, available by week 4, says Sergio. Yeah, he was placed on injured reserve, so he will need to miss at least 3 games. What is up, Eliasar? Thank you for joining the show. Glad I didn't buy the Diggs jersey yet. I really feel bad for the fans who had bought Diggs jersey with the number 27. Is there anyone here in the chat who had done so, who had bought the Trevon Diggs jersey with the number 27? Because if so, that's just bad luck. Deshaun Wright, number 25, looks nice too, like Richard Sherman, says Daryl. And we've heard Deshaun Wright talk about Richard Sherman and the fact that he really likes his game and that he sees himself on Richard Sherman. I actually like single digits on defensive backs. However, kind of wish Diggs stayed on 27. I think our defense is going to be better against the run this year, says the Gooch. Hopefully. With Neville Gallimore, I felt more confident about that than I do right now. But anyway, my number 3 concern for the Dallas Cowboys heading into the 2021 season is the offensive line health. We were talking about La'el Collins at the beginning of the show. It was kind of a spoiler alert. But yeah, you cannot help be concerned about La'el Collins' health because he has had some issues throughout training camp and throughout the preseason. So it was exciting to watch the Cowboys starting offensive line play in the preseason together for the first time in what seemed to be forever. Lyle Collins, Tyron Smith, and Zach Martin played for the first time together since 2019. So that was exciting as well. However, I do not like the Lyle Collins stinger issue. Even though the Dallas Cowboys are saying that it's minor, the thing that gets me is that it's not the only thing that we've heard about Lyle Collins this offseason. So hopefully Collins is ready to go week 1, but I'm concerned about the depth because we did not see what we wanted to see out of Ty Nsekhe in the preseason. We have not seen Judge Ball, who is going to start this season on IR and who could be the one guy to really compete with Ty Nsekhe for that swing tackle spot. I don't think any of us has seen enough from Terrence Steele, and the same goes for Brandon Knight. So really the backup tackle situation is not great for the Dallas Cowboys, even though I really thought that the Cowboys were going to be better off with their depth in 2021 than they were in 2020. Now, I will say that maybe we are going to have this sort of effect, or this residue effect from what we saw last year, and we're going to be scared the moment one offensive lineman goes down. But keep in mind that last season, it was not about one tackle going down or one offensive guard going down. It was about your 2 starting tackles being out and then starting about 9 offensive linemen throughout the entire season. Change at center, sliding Zach Martin over to tackle. The Cowboys in 2020, it was not about one tackle injured or 2 tackles being injured. It was about just chaos across the offensive line. So if any tackle of the Dallas Cowboys goes down or any offensive lineman of the Dallas Cowboys goes down, it might not be the end of the world, especially with Dak Prescott on the playing field. So I will say that maybe we should have a little bit of more, how would I be able to put it? Like maybe we should be a little bit more calm when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys offensive line depth. I think we're just kind of scared because of what we had to go through in 2020. So those would be my top 3 concerns. CJ, they kicked the media out after 15 minutes of practice. Now, was someone asking about practice? Oh, was there any video footage of the practice today? I did not see any. And what Keith is saying is correct. They are kicking the media out before they can put any kind of videos out there. Tampa Bay's opening game last year versus the Saints looking eerily similar to Dallas versus Tampa opening night. Whoa. Good take over there. Tyron Smith will not be wearing the neck collar no more, says Dallas Junk. Still is trash, says Noah Alexander. Is Moana underrated? He balled out in college versus a run, says VTC. I don't think Quinton Vohana is underrated. I'm sorry. I think that we all like what Quinton brings to the table as a 6th-round rookie, but I don't think that you can give him a big role for the Dallas Cowboys right away. Like, there's still some development that needs to take place regarding Quinton Vohana. In my opinion, more than anything, it's about down-to-down consistency for Quinton, because we have seen some good pad level from him. We have seen some high motor football from him. However, I'm not entirely sure that we have seen that play after play after play. And that would be my concern. And as CJ is saying, Bohanna is just raw. You know he's fast, you know he's strong, but maybe he's not the most refined prospect in 2021. So let's give him some time, because that's what you do with 6th-round rookie players. And that is one of the biggest concerns as well for the Dallas Cowboys. Their depth at defensive tackle is not ideal. They have some players, but do we know who the clear-cut starters are? I'm not sure we do. If Neville Gallimore was healthy, we know Gallimore was going to start. But other than that, we know very little about what the Cowboys defensive line is going to look like and what the rotations are going to be once the season gets underway. Because we saw a lot of Carlos Watkins, for example, in the preseason. We know that he's likely to be a starter for the Cowboys, and Oza played a lot as well. But are you going to play Oza as your starter week 1? That's one of the biggest questions as well. So anyway, moving on. The NFC East, as we continue to preview the Cowboys 2021 season. In your opinion, which NFC East team is the biggest threat to the Cowboys? And do you envision one of the bottom 2 to be a surprise team in the NFL. Now, I think most of us will agree on who is the biggest threat to the Dallas Cowboys in 2021, because the other two teams in the division have not been able to really get any attention from the NFL. But I do wonder if one of those could be better than we think they are going to be. Not really to compete for the division, but really just to be a headache when the Cowboys play them in 2021. So actually the first question was a surprise for me. I feel it's Giants, says Eleazar Mendoza. Eleazar thinks it's the Giants. I think that most people will answer the Washington football team. Oh, two of the first three answers are the New York Giants. And I will tell you what, I have the Giants as the number 4 team in the division. I don't have the Giants as the third best team in the division. Football teams, Sergio, Eagles with Hurts offensively is hard to call. New York head coach is hated by his players. Anyone else big on Kennedy, says Noah. I think a lot of people are big on Kennedy. I do wonder what the Cowboys' opinion on him is in terms of, is he going to get a chance to compete to be a starter or not. Washington Giants will be good once they get rid of Danny Dimes and get an offensive line. Giants and Eagles have been trading Rex this offseason. So here's how I look at things. Washington has a great defense, an elite defense in the NFL, one of the best in the league. And I'm not very excited about Ryan Fitzpatrick joining them. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been an average quarterback at best throughout his career, even though he's given us some great moments. And, you know, the Ryan Fitzmagic storyline was awesome and funny as hell. But we're still watching a team that is going to play with an average quarterback. That's what Ryan Fitzpatrick has been throughout his career. We know that Terry McLaurin could be a big-time wide receiver. We know that adding Curtis Samuel to the team was a great move from Washington, but it's all about the quarterback in that team, in my opinion, and that's what's going to keep them from winning the division, in my opinion. If they had a good quarterback, like not an average quarterback, a good quarterback. So let's say that Washington had, who do you think it's a good quarterback that is not great, but it's not mediocre or average either? So let's say, I'm going to say Matt Ryan, even though it might be controversial. If Washington had Matt Ryan at quarterback, I would be way more concerned, because I know that that's a quarterback that can lead a high-scoring offense, even though Kyle Shanahan was the mastermind behind that team, that Falcons team that made the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan still made a lot of big-time plays. So if they had that good quarterback, I would be way more concerned about Washington. But I truly believe that Ryan Fitzpatrick will hold that team back. A lot of people are saying that because Fitzpatrick is in Washington, they will be able to win the division. I think he will hold them back. In reality, that's what's going to happen. Look at the numbers. I was looking at some of the numbers and some expected points added, the famous EPA analytics stat. And in the last years, among quarterbacks who have had over 600 snaps, I think it was, Ryan Fitzpatrick is about 18th in the league. So we're talking about below average play. Philadelphia, some people are saying Philadelphia. Quinn came back today. Aaron says Stevie Mack. Yeah, Dan Quinn came back to the building. He's also back with the Dallas Cowboys. So Philly, says Noah, are underrated. And here's where I stand on the Giants and the Eagles, because they're clearly, in my opinion, they're clearly the bottom two teams in the division. Now, everything can happen, and Jalen Hurts can make a big jump, just like Daniel Jones can, and maybe Daniel Jones is able to solve his fumble issues. He's the quarterback to fumble the most in the past couple of years, and those ball security issues will likely continue into 2021, and you have Jason Garrett calling the plays for them. But more than anything, I think that the Eagles edge out the Giants, and the Eagles have the third best spot, in my opinion, because they have strength in the trenches, which is way different for the Giants. The Giants' offensive line might be one of the worst units in the entire NFL, the offensive line. And yeah, they added Kenny Golladay, one of the best receivers in the NFL. They also signed, of course, Kyle Rudolph to complement maybe Evan Engram. Saquon Barkley is coming back, and he might finally stay healthy. But even though they're in a great spot when it comes to skill positions, they have to overcome, number one, a bad offensive line. Number two, a bad play caller, Jason Garrett. And number three, a quarterback that turns the ball over, because that's what Daniel Jones has done so far. And it's not like Daniel Jones can give you some pretty good plays and can put together some pretty nice drives. And he has a good arm and he's fast. He's one of the fastest quarterbacks in the NFL. In fact, even though he's not used in any design runs or things like that, or at least not that often, he's still a quarterback who's fast. But is he good enough in other areas to make up for the pace in which he turns the ball over? I don't think he is. So NFC is starting to look like what it is, says Lunatic. The division with most Super Bowl wins, but it will be ours next 2 years. And if the Cowboys win a division for the next couple of years, they will be making history in terms of winning the division in back-to-back seasons. Since what? It was 2004. Is it still 2004? The last time someone won the division in back-to-back years, it was Philadelphia in 2004. And the Eagles still don't have a good quarterback, says Lasai. But at least Philadelphia has a strong offensive line. And they also have a strong defensive line, in my opinion. Especially the defensive line. The defensive line is better than the O-line. And they actually were, the second or the third team with the most sacks in 2020. So at least Philly has that going for them. And at least we know less about Jalen Hurts than what we do about Daniel Jones. So that's why I will give the Eagles my number 3 place on the NFC East, in the NFC East. And I will drop the Giants to number 4 at the bottom of the division. But I do find interesting that we had some comments that were different from Washington. I thought everyone was going to say Washington. So, before we go, do you think that the Dallas Cowboys, this is a simple question, are the Dallas Cowboys a legit Super Bowl contender, or are we just being way optimistic in the preseason? Because we know what the Cowboys offense is. We know that the Cowboys offense might be top 3 in the NFL, a top 3 unit in the NFL. It might even end the season as the number 1 offense in the NFL. In 2019, they were second in DVOA, which measures value per play, in Kellen Moore's first season calling the plays. And before Dak Prescott got injured, the Cowboys were also a top 5 offense in the NFL. Are they legit Super Bowl contenders? Lasai says, yes, they are. And my answer would be, yes, they definitely are. There are a lot of NFC teams that I would rank before them, ahead of them. I would probably rank the Packers and the Bucs, obviously, above the Cowboys in the NFC. I could see myself ranking the 3 NFC West teams ahead of the Cowboys, because the NFC West is just crazy. I like what the 49ers have in store. I like what the Rams have with Matthew Stafford at quarterback. Some people thinking that Matthew Stafford will take some time. I'm not entirely sure that he will. And the Russell Wilson, you never know. And here's what concerns me about the Cowboys is that they don't have those seasons in which, they have not been to the playoffs recently. The last time they were there was in 2018. Now, you can have success in spite of that. Just look at what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did last season, but it's harder to do so. So the Dallas Cowboys are 1 year away from being a Super Bowl team, says Marvel. Definitely Super Bowl contenders as long as everyone stays healthy, says CJ. Yes, we get to watch them gel. Will they win? Says Stephen White. Yes, potentially we can make the Super Bowl. Kellen Moore, please. We can do a Tampa Bay-like jump, says Lunatic. Now, it could happen. It could happen. Now, Stevie Mack says, not so fast, my friends, says Stevie Mack. I don't think so yet. They need another offseason to bolster up the defense. Yes, they are, says John Jones. So here's Here's why I say yes. I do think that the Dallas Cowboys will have a top 5 offense in 2021. I think that at best, the Cowboys defense is going to be average. I do not see this defense making a big jump to become a top 15 unit or anything like that. It's not the first time that I've said that here on Primetime. I think that the Cowboys defense should get close to being average. They will improve. They will improve drastically, but that might not be enough to become a top 15 or a top 10 unit. But in spite of that, I think that the Cowboys can be a Super Bowl championship team. And if you take a look at the past Super Bowl, at the latest Super Bowl winners, or if you take a look at even the entire history of the NFL, if I'm not mistaken, Super Bowl champions have at least one elite unit, but they are not necessarily a balanced team. And the myth about defense wins championships, it's just that. It's a myth. And that has been backed up by actual evidence of teams with mediocre defenses but top 5 offenses winning the Super Bowl. So I think that the Cowboys have that opportunity. It's going to be harder for them because they're going to have to depend a lot on what Dak Prescott and the offense are able to do. But they are legit Super Bowl contenders, in my opinion. And I would rank the Dallas Cowboys. I have seen a lot of power rankings. If you take a look at the Athletics power rankings or the NFL.com power rankings and things, or any power ranking, really, just about any, the Cowboys are left outside of the top 15. And I think that's a very difficult argument to make. To me, it's very difficult to rank the Cowboys outside of the top 15. I think they are a top 15 team, and I think you can make an argument for them to be top 10 at the end of the top 10, like 10th place maybe or 9th place. But that's just because of how strongly I feel about the Cowboys offense and how strongly I feel that you can win a Super Bowl or you can be a contender even without a balanced team. So the Cowboys do not have to have a balanced team, in my opinion, to be Super Bowl contenders. I like this show much better. I don't know what show is that, the one Kristen is saying, but I do appreciate it. I do appreciate you being here on ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. Situational stops and takeaways from our defense improve that, and it gives us a decent shot. Now, Lunatic makes a very strong point. In 2020, the Cowboys defense seemingly improved, but it was just the fact that they were taking the ball away from the opponents. The Cowboys need to do that more often in 2021, and they will be able to help the offense. That being said, do you think Michael Gallup will be back by this time next year? Says KG3. I don't. I think it is more likely than not that he will be paid elsewhere. I think that Michael Gallup is going to want to try free agency, and I think that he's going to receive strong offers. And I don't think, unless Amari Cooper is injured throughout most of 2021 or he's dealing with more injuries, I don't think that the Cowboys are going to be as likely to move on from Amari Cooper as a lot of fans are expecting them to. Sure, the contract allows them to do so if they want to in 2022. But I think that Amari Cooper is significantly better than the other 2 wide receivers that are in the wide receiver room. I like Lamb a lot. I like Michael Gallup a lot. But Amari Cooper is still one level above them, in my opinion. Amari Cooper is close to being in that top tier of wide receivers in the NFL. Thank you, Lunatic, for the donation. Thank you for being here in the chat. C12, F12 up. Puro inch Cowboys. Now, for those of you who do not know Spanish, you will never understand that comment and how much it means to me. Now, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's a great comment from Lunatic. Thank you. Gallup just will be out of our price range. Like, this is an expression, the one that Lunatic dropped in the chat, that I wouldn't even know how to translate it. Like, it's a bad word, but I wouldn't even know what you could say what the equivalent is, but it works different. It's another language. It works different. First time watching the show, definitely like what I'm hearing. Thank you, John, a lot for being here. We are here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday night. That's the schedule that we've been using in the off season. But get ready for the season, in which by next week we're going to be doing this show 5 days per week. So it's going to be exciting. Gallup just will be out of price range. Not necessarily, this is Ninja. I'm not entirely sure what he was replying to in the YouTube chat. This guy seems like a very young Mike Fisher, and I like it. Well, thank you, KG. That means a lot. Cooper is here to stay. April showers. Hopefully, we can find a good receiver in the draft next year, but I'm focused on now. Yeah, let's worry about Michael Gallup in 2022. I love the fact. I love the fact that we can talk about actual football now and not just weird scenarios about next off season or contract years or things like that. So I'm excited about getting football back. And with that, by the way, that will be all for me tonight. Make sure you follow ADC Sports Dallas in all its social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Make sure you check out adcsports.com/Dallas. You can find me on Twitter at MauNFL. That's MAU NFL. And you can find me there. And of course, if you want to chat about the Cowboys, let's do so. So thank you for joining me. Hope you're having a great Thursday. Hope you have a great weekend. And I will see you all on Sunday so we can do ADC Sports Dallas Primetime here. Check out the website. Thank you, April, for being here. Similar to how about them MFing Cowboys. This is lunatic. I think that would be a fair translation. Good show. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you for being here in the show. And of course, check out the website as TV Mac is telling you in the chat, adcsports.com/Dallas Cowboys. Tomorrow morning, if you guys are interested in reading about the Cowboys in Spanish, you can also check out my weekly series on ADC Sports called Cowboys en Español, which is about the Dallas Cowboys, but always in Spanish. Joe Mesa asking, Mauricio, are you Mexican? Sí. Yes, I am Mexican. Or is Jerry willing to stay in the booth, says Eric. I hope he is. Well, anyway, thank you for joining me, and I will see you all on Sunday. Make sure you tune in for Sky's show. Oh, shout out before I leave you. I know I've said goodbye about 3 times now, but I saw a tweet before I jumped here in the chat. And how about Jesse Holly shouting out ADC Sports on Twitter? He said, oh, hey, hi to ADC Sports. I'm Jesse Holly. Nice to meet you. So you cannot see that in the screen. I should have prepared a graphic. But yeah, Jesse Holly, shout out to him. He shouted out ADC Sports, and that is amazing. Well, anyways, thank you, and I will see you all next time. Have a